Well, it may look like Gwen's having a great Hawaiian vacation, but in reality it's pretty much a low-budget affair. And you can see here that the background is simply just a very nice photograph. And let's talk about how we can utilize the photograph and build this scene. We won't even need the ground here actually, because our shot's only going to be a specific area. So let's see how we did that. Okay, we've removed everything except Gwen and her beach ball. And here is our photograph, which happens to be a real nice shot. And what we're going to do is just hold down the control key and drag it into our scene. Okay. And it'll probably come in at the wrong direction and the wrong size that you want, but for now, we'll just let it stay there. Let's click on that diffuse image map, and let's go over here to self-illumination. Make sure you turn that on, because see, that will then illuminate the image so you don't have to have a light. And another thing we want to do is we don't want this image casting a shadow or receiving a shadow, so we'll turn those items off. And also, as I remember, I turned it the other way. I kind of wanted it going that direction. And of course now let's just play with sizing. We'll reposition it so it won't be competing with Gwen as far as the position goes. We'll keep sizing it and adjusting its position to get it right for our shot. Now, as I said, I like to use the preview camera to lay everything out with, but here's the camera I was using for my shot, and so now I'll play with that shot and kind of adjust things where I feel it looks right and get it positioned right. So there we go. And that's rough enough for what we want to do. We might size it up a little larger, push it away. We can always tweak it later for the shot we want. Now, another thing that'll help the realism, since it's a static still photo, obviously you could take this into Photoshop. You could remove the boat and maybe put an actual boat out there bobbing, which might help. But once again, this is down and dirty. We're going to keep it simple as possible and help it to look somewhat realistic. Now let's go ahead and add some water. And let's see, I think gentle wave will do fine. So the water came in, you can see the reflection starting there, but it's obviously too low. Now what you need to do to adjust the water is click on the water, make sure you have selected it. I'm going to hit the W key, and now I can raise it. But now obviously I'm going way too high because now it's actually covering Gwen up, so we don't want that. So let's click on our background and let's lower it. And now, and of course you can adjust the water wave size. It's probably be a good thing to do. You don't want it too large, too small. That's kind of nice there. I'm going to adjust this camera a little bit so we can see more of the water. Now you notice, as I said, we framed this shot just for a specific shot. Notice where the water is covering Gwen there, but I'm going to frame this shot to where I probably won't see that, and it'll just be out of the frame just slightly. But once again, we can certainly play with the height of the water and get it just where we want it, and then position our camera for this specific shot. So there we go. And so now we've added a little bit of detail that's going to help sell the photograph a little bit better. And of course, don't forget, you can play with the water size, and if you want to size it smaller, you will need to change your positioning and the size of the wave. But you could have a little hill right here if you needed to see some ground. A little bit of a beach there would be nice. Okay, the other thing we'll talk about now, as you can see, the lighting is actually the original lighting. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off, and we'll do another light and just see how we did that. So let's go down and spot and turn that off. Let's turn on the normal typical light that you would see, and it'll probably be pretty much like that, just flat. So obviously what we want to do, since the sun probably is coming from the backside, we'll simply position it and change the color so it's a little more in line with the color coming off the clouds, like so, and just play with whatever you think will be appropriate. And probably want to warm it up just a little more yellowy. Here we go. And I'm going to play with the multiplier too and position it so it's a little bit more of a hot pop. And we might try 2. 2 might work. Whatever you feel that out. And we might warm it up a little warmer. Peachy colors. Okay. And so get a little more realistic color there. And also we have added a little fill light because typically that's what it would look like with just the one light. So I've added a little point light here, and once again play with how much you want. If you got a flash on your camera, if you got a light in the scene, but to make it a little more realistic we'll try to take that down. Just give it a little fill like so to that. And of course, a little background and foreground action. We put a tree in, and so I had some palm trees, and I think I had a single date palm, so let's drag it in. It's kind of behind everything, so I'm going to pull it up and have a little foreground action of the trunk. And once again, we don't want it in the water. You may need to size it, so I'm going to hit the R key and size it a little bit, and I'm going to duplicate it by holding down the control key, size it again. So now pull it up here and lower it a little bit and play with the size, and once again get it out of the water for our camera shot, and position your foreground action like so. It's always good to have a little bit of foreground activity, and adds a little more realism sometimes to the scene. Helps the camera. Any camera move, it's always nice to have some foreground activity going on there too. So roughly you've got your trees in place, and also we brought in a few plants, as I remember, just to give it a little color. So I went down and found some and they're going to be way back there, so we're going to bring them in. Here we go, and then you position them like so. Once again, foreground business. It's always good. Gives you something for the camera. Gives you something for the camera to move past. Okay, for our sun effect, let's just grab a cylinder, and probably be good to get the one that looks the best as far as the most polygons, but I'm just going to grab one here, and we don't need it to cast a shadow for sure, or receive a shadow, so turn that off. Probably don't even need the texture map, so let's go ahead and delete that, and let's rotate it, and here we go. Let's see. There we go, we snapped it into place, and then let's squash it down pretty flat because I certainly don't want any dimension per se to it. And now let's once again rotate it here a little bit. Let's get it back here to our image right in front of it. And as I said, this is a little bit cheesy way to do it since the sun's really in front of the clouds, which is probably not a good thing for a very realistic sunset, but for our purposes I think it'll be okay. And it's the mood as much as realism we're after. So let's look at our camera here, and you can play with the size, any size you want, real large or whatever. Put it wherever you need it to position. You can animate it going down like I did in my original piece. Okay, let's get it to actually show up here with some color, as it were. Let's go with yellow, orange, bright, and once again, self-illumination is going to be crucial. We've got the sun pretty much in position. We've got the color set, and as I said, you can certainly size it any size you want. One thing we might do is put a texture on it, and I'm going to go over here and select a texture you might normally use for a glow map, and just put it on top, and there we go. I think this will look a little better than the sun in the animation at the beginning. There you go. Now you can do a glow on this object, but you will notice that in reflections the glows do not show up, and hopefully the new version of iClone will remedy that. So it's not going to help you a whole lot to put a glow on it, because it won't show in the reflection of the water, but that's just the way it is. So you'll probably want to animate a little bit of that and let it, during the course of the scene, go down. And that might look cool. Can't go all the way down probably. So do a little animation like that. That'll help give it some realism as well. Okay, I think we've got everything turned back on now. We've added just a smidge of atmosphere, HDR, turned off the glare type, giving it just a little bit of bloom, a little bit of threshold. This red goes really wild if you give it too much. And of course our camera is going to have a little bit of depth of field turned on, and as it gets closer to Gwen, the background is going to go out of focus a little bit, so the emphasis will remain on her. Got our reflections going pretty nice. The sun's dropping down close. So hope this helped. I think it's a quick technique for a simple setup using an image and making it look somewhat realistic very quickly. Thanks for watching.